of course, as was promised earlier in the show, the focus of this segment is talking about World Breastfeeding Week. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Jorge Polanco, INCAP coordinator, and that is also representing PAHO Belize. We're joined by Nurse Pauline Griffith, public health nurse, maternal and child health from Matron Roberts Clinic, and Dr. Jackie Yen, medical officer at Matron Roberts as well. Good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Now, breastfeeding, as I mentioned earlier in the show, has been something that it's a message that has been continuously pushed in Belize for years. And if you think way back to Breast is Best to many other initiatives that have taken place. Dr. Polanco, let's start off in terms of the global perspective. Why is it important that we keep on putting the message out there? Are not enough people breastfeeding?
Precisely. That last statement is the reality. Well, the truth is that breastfeeding, as some writers would call it, the first vaccine, there's a rationale behind that statement that in reality, breastfeeding, apart from being food to keep that neonate, to keep that infant alive, it is very rich in antibodies and in nutrients that infant needs during the first days of his life, actually during the first year of his life. But the truth is that yes, there is the need to promote it in the case of Belize. And the reason is that the coverage, the statistics have shown that the number of women providing breast milk as an exclusive form of feeding the child is very low. The last report that was done by UNICEF reported that it was only 14.7 of the mothers that were providing exclusive breastfeeding. And by exclusive breastfeeding, we refer to whereby an infant is surviving only on breast milk for the first 6 months. So it's referring to only breastfeeding for a period of time, which is 6 months. After 6 months, it should be complemented with complementary foods. But the point is that, coming back to your question, globally, there is the scientific evidence, multiple studies across the globe, whereby malnutrition is linked directly to a lack of breastfeeding for multiple reasons. So then, knowing that malnutrition will be a direct cause if breastfeeding is not there, there is a need for everybody, government to start off, and different UN agencies have that as, like UNICEF has it on the forefront, the Pan American Health Organization, in CAP, of which I'm the coordinator. We all know that breastfeeding has to be promoted because in reality there are multiple reasons also why easily a mother would not breastfeed. Multiple reasons, social reasons, economic reasons. So then there is a need to promote it, and during this week the entire world is literally promoting it.
Now, it's interesting because when I first heard the statistic, 14%, and of course, just to clarify, the study was 2011, the mixed study 2011. So it may have changed since then, but it's still a relatively low number. Is that perhaps because people are not understanding what the concept of exclusive breastfeeding is? I want to get your perspectives here.
I think some of our mothers, when they think about breastfeeding, they think about breastfeeding and still giving water or gripe water and a seed. But exclusive breastfeeding is giving the baby only breast milk, nothing else for the first 6 months of the child's life. And we need to remember that breast milk has adequate enough of water, mineral, vitamins that the child needs for his or her 6 months of life. So there is nothing else besides the breast that should be placed in that baby's mouth for his first 6 months of life.
Nothing.
Is it that people don't fully understand the nutritional value and what it means to the child that they immediately want to start adding other things?
Actually, I do believe that parents that do understand, because the advertisement, the clinic, everyone, and before the baby they get discharged from hospital, the first thing the doctors or the nurses explain to them, do not give them anything else except breast milk. But like I said, as time goes, we get tired. The breastfeeding mother, they get tired, frustrated, especially firstborn. And then you're not seeing enough, and baby's bawling, baby's crying. So the first thing you do, give them bottle. And your grandparents, your grandmother, your mother-in-law, whoever come, the neighbor will come and tell you, give them gripe water. Give them something else. Try this, try that. And then you're so lost, so you would do anything just to make your baby calm. So I do believe people do know, but just that the frustration and like what Dr. Polanco mentioned, the social factors that's causing them stop breastfeeding.
Yeah.
I have another question, because when you talk about how much of it is fighting against cultural practices that have developed over time, because that whole gripe water thing is a huge...
Gripe water, aniseed, and one of the worst, sugar and water.
How much of it is battling with those kind of cultural kind of practices that have developed with time?
I think most everybody.
There is something important that Terien made reference to. The woman is tired and the easiest thing is to grab something else. And I think this is an opportunity to see that there's a role for everybody else in that family. For example, the father. Let's start with the father. Recently, the Ministry of Health instituted a policy of having a companion at birth, which means that somebody else could be there at the moment of delivery, not only the nurse and the doctor. And it is encouraged for the fathers to be there. In reality, when the fathers go there and see a delivery and they see what their wives is going through, that in itself should be an event that should stimulate them to provide all that support to their wives. But in regards to the breastfeeding, the role of the fathers could be doing tasks, doing the chores at home that would allow the mother to have a little more rest. Because in reality, as the doctor said, it is tiring. It is tiring. The infant would want food throughout the 24 hours during the first days of life. And the father needs to play a role in the sense, okay, you have breastfeed, give me the infant, I will burp him, or I will burp her. I will take care of her while you take a rest. The role of the sisters, even the neighbors. Sometimes a woman in the house runs out of time because she has to do shopping, she has to do laundry, she has to do this, and who would end up being sacrificed is the infant in regards to time being allotted for breastfeeding. So this is where the family should come in immediately and assist that mother for her to have enough rest, for her to have sufficient time to breastfeed while she knows that somebody else would be taking care of the home. Now, it might sound easily because you have a lot of homes where the mother is the only one left at home during the day. The husband would go and work, or there is no other adult. But you should have that support from your friends or even from your neighbors. And that is something that has to be considered during the prenatal period. That is something that that forms part of the counseling that the public health nurses would do to prepare that mother, because believe me, you would take things for granted that because you're a woman, you know how to breastfeed. No. Anything that is new, if you have never been exposed to it, if nobody has explained to you, like your mother, you can't learn it. Somebody has to teach you. And I think that's an area that needs to be strengthened, because the fathers, believe me, they have to work outside, but then the mother also works throughout the entire day while she's at home. So that's just one example, but and of course the information as to why, because the easiest thing would be, okay, well, I'm just tired. But when that mother knows the benefits of breastfeeding, believe me, there is no mother that would try to override those benefits for just a... And I think at some point we need to...
Well, that's what I wanted to get into. Let's talk about the benefits, because maybe what people need to understand is the difference between the impact of an exclusively breastfed child for 6 months, nothing but milk, and those who have had perhaps breast milk and other stuff included, and some who just have formula. What is the main difference of the child who has only had breast milk, the exclusively breastfed child?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, the exclusively breastfed child is, first of all, he's or she's healthier, because remember, breast milk is very soft and absorbable. That child will have few or no allergies. Let's just say no allergies. That child, the weight will be normal for its age. No hospital visits, no diarrhea, no ear infection, no respiratory tract infection, no aspiration. That child is much healthier. That child is cognitively smarter, that child is more smarter. Studies have shown that babies who are breastfed, they have a higher IQ than babies who are formula fed.
So in complementing what Nurse Griffith said, they will be visiting the hospital less simply because they will get sick less. And the reason is because the breast milk is rich in antibodies that the child needs. During the first months of life, the immune system of that infant is in the development stage.
Yeah.
So when he is born, he has no immune system. It's there, but it has to be developed. So then, and you know, germs and viruses are all over the place. So it is the antibodies that will come from the breast milk that will protect that child against, as the nurse said, diarrhea, for example, that could become complicated with dehydration, for example, ear infections. One ear infection could turn out to so many severe bacterial infections. A gastrointestinal infection could also get complicated. So then this explains why their morbidity is much less. On one hand, at the same time, studies have also been shown that adults who did not breastfeed, on one hand, and who were also malnourished in their first year of life, there has been a correlation with these adults suffering cardiovascular diseases.
So the health benefits extend beyond the 6 months of life.
That
it's
is
for the
correct.
rest of your life.
That is correct. And there is something very important apart from those diseases that can easily be seen. The intellectual development of the infant, that there are multiple studies on that, where children who were breastfed do much better in primary school. So and that's well established.
We all breastfed.
So that's when you say, thanks, Mom.
Now, the question, you raised a very significant point there, learning to breastfeed. I mean, a lot of times, as a man, you think that it's almost organic, you know,
You just
that,
put the child there and
that
you do
you
it.
know how to do it.
Yeah.
But when you talk about actually helping a woman to learn how to breastfeed properly, because they worry about pain and, you know, all of those other
The
things.
aesthetics of it.
How do you handle that, teaching women how to breastfeed?
Well, teaching a mother how to breastfeed start in antenatal care. That's why we encourage early booking. That is when you miss the first or second period, so that you have all that time to get the education on breastfeeding. When it comes to breastfeeding, you have to think about the proper technique of latching on, how the baby attaches to the breast, because most of us think that breastfeeding is just putting the baby to the breast and the baby suck the nipple. That is not breastfeeding. The baby mouth has to be open wide, and the child has to cover the areola, that black area around the breast, that at the top of the nipple, that is where the mouth should be. And when the baby is placed to the breast, the mouth should be wide open and cover that area. And that areola is where the breast ducts drain, and that is where the milk will come out. Once the mouth is there, it will stimulate the areola, and the ducts will release the breast milk. Also, we have to think about when breastfeeding, we try to encourage the skin to skin, because that soothes the baby, calms the baby heart rate, gives the baby warmth, and then breastfeeding is more successful. Also, the baby face should be facing near the mother. They should be attached to the mother's side, upright, and that is the best technique. They have 4 different positions that you could use, but the aim of it is that the mouth must cover the areola.
Yeah,
not
that's
the
the
nipple.
main thing, right? And in fact, the truth is when women talk about things like pain, it's actually because they're not using the proper technique.
They're not using the proper technique, and then the breast, like the nipple, the soreness and the crackness is because the baby is only latching onto the nipple.
Yeah.
And then with the breast getting engorged is because the nipple does not have the ducts, so the breast will stay there and be filled, and then the ducts will get blocked.
Yeah.
So they have this pain leading to what we call mastitis with fever, and then breastfeeding will be discontinued.
Okay. Now, one of the things I think is very interesting in reading, typically moms, nurses, even most people who've had children are of the belief that children need to be, newborns need to be on a feeding schedule. However, with exclusive breastfeeding, it's taking that knowledge and throwing it out the window, right? Tell us about that, doctor.
Because we try to feed on demand. Because feeding on demand is very important, because it's like I'm telling you, babies, like nurse will explain later, the stomach of the baby at 24 hours is just the size of a marble. But we do believe that, oh my God, my baby is crying, my baby needs milk. So every time you hear a baby cry, you feel he's hungry, she's hungry. So you just put, I mean, if you're hungry and you're not, I mean, baby, they don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
So if you feed, they will just eat.
Yeah.
And then in a way that you overfeed the baby, and that's where the vomiting, everything that comes along with that.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that the size marble is like this. So that means it's so small. So your baby, of course, that's why Dr. Polanco at the beginning said it's tiring at the beginning, maybe first month, because the baby needs to constant feeding on demand, when the baby want. And don't wait till the baby cry, because that's what they do. You know, they cry, so I have to feed him. You have to look for their signs. So maybe later Nurse Pauline will explain to you what are the signs to look for. And after 7 days, the baby's stomach would turn to a tennis ball size. So then the demand will be larger. But I remember when we went to breastfeeding classes and stuff, they have said there's never insufficient milk, only mother that doesn't want to breastfeed. Because mother always feel, I don't get enough, I don't have enough. It's not true. It's your mind that's not working for it. So if your mind is set, I need this baby to get breastfed, the baby will get the milk.
And the signs that when that it's time to feed them, because if you go
Other than
home
that,
and tell the grandparents,
crying.
I don't have to feed them every 2 hours. The doctor said don't feed them every couple hours.
But remember, breastfeeding is on demand.
Yeah.
Whenever the child wants the breast, for as long as he or she wants to stay on the breast. It's not an hourly or 2 hour thing.
Yes.
We were taught in the days that you must breastfeed every hour and a half. No, it's on demand. And some of the cues, we have the early hunger cues when the child will be sleeping and maybe twitching his eyes, and we'll say, oh, my baby is smiling. That is one of the first signs of hunger. The baby will start to root, will suck his hand, look for the breast, search around. The last stage of hunger is crying, and that is when we won't get the baby to breastfeed any at all.
Because they're angry.
Yes. Then we have to do this. We have to start over again by calming the baby, doing the skin to skin, putting the baby's body against ours, so they could feel the heartbeat, get the warmness, and then they will quiet down and they will start to breastfeed over. Remember, we have to know the signs so as to be able to feed the baby. But remember, the aim of breastfeeding is doing it on demand. Not an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, no.
So you have to learn how to latch on the baby correctly.
Yes.
You have to learn all these signs.
Yes.
There are only 3.
Now, I'm asking because, you know, it's a obviously, I like the fact that you said it starts even before the baby is born.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for the mother or parents to actually go to the clinic before. Now, let's talk about some of the other benefits, because there are also cost-related benefits for exclusive breastfeeding.
Nurse Mazaya has developed a formula for this.
With exclusive breastfeeding, it is very cheap. No money is needed with breastfeeding because it is natural, it is readily available. When you think about breastfeeding as compared to formula, formula is the child needs at least 2 cans of milk per week. And a can of milk is $20 a can. That is $40 a week. We have 52 weeks in the year, and we feed our babies at least until 2 to 3 years old. So you see how much more that is as compared to fully breastfeeding this baby, and at 6 months introducing the complementary, the appropriate complementary foods.
Yeah.
Because remember, you have to, at 6 months, you need to introduce complementary food, but it has to be appropriate for the child's age. And you should continue breastfeeding. You should not stop breastfeeding at 6 months. You should continue it at least for a year and up to year age 2.
There is something else that could be a hidden cost. The fact, if you don't breastfeed and you give formula, the source of your water, the way you prepare that bottle,
The cost of the bottles.
the cost of the bottle, the manipulation. If a person is not well informed as to the hygiene needed, easily that bottle could be contaminated, the nipple could be contaminated, the water perhaps is contaminated, even though I must say that in Belize City, in all urban areas where BWS, the water is safe. But in the manipulation process, the possibility for you using a dirty container, etc., or your dirty hands. So that in itself is a very important risk for infection. And it's a reality. Infections are associated to children who are not breastfed simply because of contamination in the moment of famine.
Can I ask another question? Because we talk about what's best nutritionally for the child, and that's exclusivity in terms of breastfeeding. How does a mother prepare in terms of her own nutrition to make sure? Because does what the mother consume impact the taste of the milk, for example? I'm just asking, I don't know.
The taste.
Yeah.
No, that's part of the prenatal care.
Okay.
All mothers throughout the country, it's a routine that the rural health nurses and public health nurses would inform the mother to improve her diet, to eat, and putting it very clear, abundant fluids, abundant fruits, abundant vegetables. And we use the word abundant because easily you would tend to only eat one thing, which is more accessible, and the risk of not having that proper nutrition is there. And that could explain in part why many years ago we had a high rate of anemia in pregnant women. And I won't go into that because anemia in itself would have an impact on the newborn. That has been addressed in a sense that has improved, that rate of anemia has come down significantly, but it has been the work of enforcing during that prenatal period that the mother has to improve. Now, the Ministry of Health has also added some micronutrients, for example, folic acid and vitamin A and multivitamins and iron during that prenatal period to complement any deficiency that the mother would not have during her.
Now, what's interesting is obviously, and you ladies are representing Matron Roberts Clinic. In terms of countrywide, we've had a number of institutions be certified as baby friendly. And I remember once upon a time that was one of the things with KHMH, once we discussed it here, that there was a policy of no bottles, for example, in the institution, and that breastfeeding is strongly encouraged. With an institution that is newly certified as baby friendly, what does this mean for the moms that go to access care at the clinic?
Well, for the moms that access care at the clinic, we promote the breastfeeding aspect of it. And if we find a mother who is not breastfeeding or who is doing partial breastfeeding with adding the bottles, we try to walk them back through the steps so they could start to do the exclusive breastfeeding. So we don't turn back anybody, we don't close the door on no one, but we try to reinforce it and we try to support them to get back on track with the breastfeeding. Find out which area they had lost or they had faltered so that they could improve and start the breastfeeding all over again.
And the other, another benefit, always heard, does it allow the mother to lose weight? Because
some people say that when you fully breastfeed the baby, mothers go back to their pre-pregnant weight.
Well, it does help to contract the uterus.
Yeah, it helps to contract the uterus. It helps to prevent cancer of the ovaries, the breasts. It helps with the babies with preventing broken bone. It is really beneficial. It helps. When breastfeeding is a plus, it's the best thing you could ever give your child for as long as he is willing and do breastfeeding. It is the first gift you could give your child. Breastfeeding.
Let me ask a question. One of the things that I have heard over the years, and we're talking about some of the reasons why women don't breastfeed. One is obviously time, there are many different reasons, but one is also aesthetics. I don't want to have the effects of what breastfeeding will do to my breast. Is that true?
It's not true.
Yeah.
Because remember, the breast itself has its own consistency. So if you have saggy breasts, you have full breasts, you have beautiful breasts, it has already come with it.
Yeah.
It's not because the baby suck it will change. But most people that come to clinic, they still do believe though. But like I said, it's cultural beliefs because their mother passed on to them, the grandmother passed on to them. So they do believe, if I want to keep my beautiful breast, I don't breastfeed.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the baby will make the breast saggy.
Right now that Doctor mentioned the word cultural, came to my mind is a statistic that we reviewed in a recent report, perhaps in the last report, in regards to breastfeeding here in Belize, that the overall prevalence was 14.7. But when we break it down by gender, we were surprised to find out that the males, there's a tendency to breastfeed exclusively the males. That coverage was only 10%, 10.5%, something like that. And with the females, it was 21%. So now the question is why?
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's a difference
At that
by
age,
1 or 2
especially.
points. It's simply half. In other words, of the total, only half of those correspond to boys. Now, for me, it's a question. Why is it that only that the coverage was only 10%?
10.
I don't have an answer to that, and it came to my mind when the doctor mentioned the word cultural. Is it cultural? Is it something that the women think? Okay, you're a male, you can cope, or I don't know.
Or
but
are we
regardless,
nurturing
Them
young
more.
girl babies more than we're nurturing young boy babies from that age?
yeah. So the question is why? But regardless of the answer, what women need to know is that everybody should be breastfed, regardless of your gender, your sex, if it's male or female. So I'm sharing this for the public to know that there's no reason to discriminate against the males at an early age. But that's something that the Ministry of Health, and as I said earlier, UNICEF and in CAP have on the forefront right now. I will link it to NCDs, non-communicable diseases, which you are aware that globally that's a buzzword on every forum, international. Even recently, last month, the United Nations General Assembly, that was the main topic, non-chronic diseases. And what I want to say is that is linked also to breastfeeding at an early stage. So then, if we want to approach chronic diseases, we have to start from promoting an increase in the coverage of breastfeeding.
Now, as the celebration of World Breastfeeding Week goes on, let's talk about some of the activities and how people can actually participate in what's happening.
Basically, the promotion at the health facilities.
We just to promote the breastfeeding.
Yeah. Throughout the districts, the health facilities are aware, and they are locally at the level of the health facilities, they are making an extra effort to sensitize mothers, especially adolescent mothers, especially first time. I say especially because even mothers who have already had more than one pregnancy, the tendency for them not to understand or not to give the importance is there. So I think that's something that all public health nurses countrywide right now have on their agenda.
And let's close off by telling soon-to-be moms or expecting moms one last reason why they should consider exclusively breastfeeding their babies. In other words, don't purchase any bottles.
Well, like I always tell my patients, first of time, like if you start bottles, you have to change. Okay, first you're like infant milk, and you go to Abby, and you try to find the perfect milk for your baby. But the perfect milk is right here, but we're always searching out there. I imagine you're spending money on that, baby get constipated, and you come to clinic for several reasons. You're not washing the bottles well. You're creating more problems. Instead just focusing on where you have, you just give. And like I said, I'm not saying to disobey to your parents, to your mothers, to your aunt, to your, but I'm serious, I'm tired of listening to mother that doesn't have they know the good thing, but they say, but my mom insists, my grandmother insists. They said, you were fed this way, you were brought up this way. So I was telling Nurse Pauline, I said, yes, we eat caca at that time, but I mean, you have to make your baby eat the same poop, right? I mean, if you go to a lot of contamination, it doesn't mean we pass on to that. Because traditions means also changes. So if we can't adapt to the changes of life, to civilization, then there's no way to improvement.
I like to tell my mothers to continue breastfeeding and make breastfeeding their first and only choice for their babies. And if they have any problems with the breastfeeding aspect, they could always return to their clinics, and we are there open and ready to teach them and go back through all the steps that we need. And remember, breast milk is the only and the best milk for the baby.
And you also do preparation of the nipple for expecting moms.
We teach them how to prepare nipples, because at antenatal care, we do a physical examination of the mother, a head to toe. We check the breast to see if they have flat nipples or inverted nipples or erect nipples, and we tell them that they must roll or pull out nipples 2 times a day, and that helps the nipples to be prepared for the baby. Because with all the education, you need the education to be successful in breastfeeding. And we are here, we are willing, and I know everybody can breastfeed, and we should breastfeed.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us this morning and focusing on the importance of breastfeeding. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we return, it will be for a wrap. Don't go anywhere. Open Your Eyes concludes after these messages.
Hey reggae fans, the time is now for you to text to win Smart's Ultimate Reggae Cruise giveaway. Send your text to YOUWIN 8946 or talk for 10 minutes in a day and automatically be entered to win. You and 3 of your friends can win 5 nights of reggae concerts on a luxury cruise to Montego Bay and Ocho Rios, Jamaica. You'll enjoy concerts from top reggae artists like Taurus Riley, Sean Paul, Morgan Heritage, Busy Signal, and much more. The time is now. The raffle will be drawn at Expo 2014 on September 7th. Text it up and talk it up to win the Ultimate Reggae Cruise giveaway from Smart.
Smart, bringing people together.
We know that in today's busy business environment, you need banking to be fast, flexible, and convenient. With Belize Bank's free online banking, you can process employee payroll, make Social Security contributions, make GST payments, process customs duty payments, view account information, pay bills, and more. Sign up for Belize Bank online today and spend more time focusing on what matters most, the success of your business. Belize Bank Online. Easy, convenient, secure.
It's the International Customier Festival 2014, a non-stop party at La Isla Bonita from Thursday, August 7th to Sunday, August 10th. We're telling you this year is going to be off the charts, and San Pedro Belize Express will take you there. On Thursday night, check out the women of the Customier pageant and dance the night away with Grupo de Danza Internacional Crash and DJ Jax. On Friday, it's the hype sounds of our very own Griffith collective and renowned reggae artist J Book. On Saturday, it's Ceci Garrido and Industria del Amor providing your musical pleasure. And on Sunday, it's a non-stop bash, beach party style. Beautiful women from all over the region, drinks, food, and the greatest artists and bands from the US, Caribbean, and Central America. Fun, fun, fun. And the best part is that San Pedro Belize Express will be your friend to the end. We'll get you and your family out to Party Central in comfort and style. And when you're done partying, we'll be there to take you home. It doesn't get better than that. Wait, it does get better than that. Did we mention that our rates are the lowest in Belize? That's right, the islands never look so good. So, what are you waiting for? La Isla Bonita is calling from August 7th to August 10th, and we're here to deliver at San Pedro Belize Express Water Taxi. Good is never enough. It's gotta be the best.
And welcome back.
Great conversation from basketball to breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Very diverse show, and obviously there's a lot that we can do in terms of offering support on both fronts, in terms of creating a culture that is more supportive and help people achieve their best or their full potential. And I think definitely Brad's and everybody who's associated with Hoop Dreams Belize should be complimented on the work that they're doing. And then the partnership with people like Robbie and the opportunity to meet someone like Aaron and Andrew as well really underscores the importance that sports is an important tool in terms of developing holistically individuals to become better citizens.
Yeah. And I think obviously you got to check out the schedule so you can support the games that they will be having. It's going to be in different parts of the country, so just go on their Facebook page at Hoop Dreams Belize and get the schedules there so you can support. The second conversation, celebrating World Breastfeeding Week. I think it is absolutely fascinating to me, some of the statistics that were pointed out, that only 14%, as of 2011, 14% of moms exclusively breastfeed, which means the majority are taking on an additional expense of purchasing formula and adding in other things, and also increasing health issues where they also have to go back and purchase medication and take the kids to the doctor. And so breast milk is fascinating, and I think it's one of those things, science, nature, religion, whatever you want to call it. The body just literally produces exactly what a child needs, from the colostrum, which is available in the first couple days or the, immediately after birth, which is the first vaccine, to changing as the baby gets older for exactly what nutrients that they need as they get older. So it seems like an easy sell, but I'm not a mom, so I can't really say that I know what the challenges are or how tiring it is. But I just hope that the more we educate people about the importance of exclusively breastfeeding, then we can have more healthy babies growing up.
The shocker for me was the fact of, in terms of the statistical disparities that exist, in terms of breastfeeding exclusively, males and females. Males are at 10, while females are at 21.
Yeah, of the 14,
Yeah, so those are combined, and then you get the 14.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of interesting to see what happens there. But
I think you brought up
for growth.
Yeah, and I thought you brought up a very good point about, and Dr. Polanco responded to it, with the role of the fathers and assisting, and also perhaps insisting that the babies are exclusively breastfed. There's also another aspect in terms of workplace policies. We didn't get into that, but I think that's also something that has to be discussed. So definitely a time for you to learn a bit more about the importance of breastfeeding and how great it is for your baby. Right?
All right, but that's our show for today. If you have any concerns or comments that you'd like to send our way, don't hesitate to drop us a line at
OYE@channel5belize.com.
William_OYE at channel5belize.com.
Marlene_OYE at channel5belize.com.
Have a great day, everybody, and be sure to join us tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes
to start your morning right. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.